9. Boeing's defective flight control system. On March 10, 2019, ThinkWell executive Samya Stumo was going to Nairobi, Kenya for her first overseas assignment. She had just boarded a flight ETH-302 from Ethiopia after flying from Washington, D.C. On a clear sunny morning, 6 minutes into the flight, the ETH-302 plunged into the fields near the town of Bishoftu, roughly 30 miles from Bole International. All passengers on board were pronounced dead. Stumo's mother, who received her daughter's personal belongings, stated in agony, "It all smells of jet fuel. It smells of death to me." Lion Air Flight 610, bound for Indonesia from Jakarta, carrying 189 passengers, plummeted into the Java Sea on October 29, 2018. Again, none of them survived. The 737 MAX was the latest model from the aircraft giant that soon became the fastest-selling plane in the history of Boeing, being a revamped and upgraded version of the famous and successful 737 aircraft. The company touted that there was no need for any additional pilot training. This decision turns out to be a significant cost saver for the airlines. All the pilots had to do was take an online course of 56 minutes, and they would be ready to jet off on the MAX. Sounds simple, right? But something went wrong. Nyirchayu Utumo, the senior investigator of NTSC who investigated the 737 MAX's system, was shocked to know that Boeing had installed a MCAS flight control software and failed to inform its pilots about it. As a result, the MCAS forces the plane to nosedive without the pilot's knowledge. So they didn't know how to switch it off, and the pilots didn't even know what was happening. After the issue regarding the software glitch surfaced, Dennis Muhlenberg, Boeing CEO, tried to brush it off as something the pilots should have known by default. Victims' families did not welcome the response and claimed a lack of accountability by Boeing. After a thorough investigation and necessary actions, finally in November 2020, the 737 MAX flew again after complete regulatory reviews. 8. Tesla's autopilot fail. On May 7, 2014, Joshua Brown, a former Navy SEAL, was killed after the car rammed into an 18-wheel tractor-trailer in Florida. On investigation, the officials found the fatal crash to be the failure of Tesla's autopilot driving system. The car had failed to detect the incoming semi, which led to the deadly crash. News media widely reported the crash, and that's when Tesla pointed out that autopilot on all cars was disabled by default, and they informed drivers that the technology was in its testing phase. The EV tech giant also added that the driver must keep their hands on the steering at all times. So although the car can drive for long stretches, it cannot replace human drivers. The investigation into the failed autopilot system revealed that Brown's entire trip lasted for 37 minutes, out of which he had his hands on the wheels for just 25 seconds. Tesla defended its system, saying Brown took no braking, steering, or other actions to avoid the collision, despite several warnings the system made indicating hands required, not detected. In Pennsylvania, another similar incident on July 1, 2016 sparked fresh speculations. According to the police, the self-drive feature was in use at the time of the crash. Tesla cars rely on Mobileye's AIV technology, where the camera's sensors capture and warn the driver of an impending collision. After the incident, Tesla upgraded the hands-off driving feature they claim could have prevented the two crashes. The updated system momentarily prevents drivers from continuing on hands-off mode if they are not responsive to audible warnings asking the driver to take over control. 7. The Cyclone. An accident sent shockwaves across the Canadian military forces on April 29, 2020. The sad day turned out to be the military's worst single-day loss of life when a CH-148 Cyclone chopper crashed into the Ionian Sea, killing all 6 personnel on board. After several investigations, officials found that the crash resulted from a conflict between the aircraft's automatic flight control system and manual controls. The pilot tried to override the automatic functions with manual maneuvers when an unanticipated bias in the system software sent the chopper nose first into the ocean. The Air Force reported that the pilot was not to blame, as it was a routine procedure to attempt manual controls when the automatic system was engaged. The chopper was built with a high-tech flight control system. The software did not allow the pilot to take over the controls. As the pilot attempted to steer up, the computer pushed it down. Institutional faults surfaced in a deeper investigation. Officials found that the pilots seldom received training before handling this upgraded chopper. The pilots assumed the helicopter would function as any other counterpart of its kind. Even the flight manuals did not brief all the details of the new technology, and officials said they were confusing or misleading. This is one such factor, and there could be many more, said General John Alexander, pointing out that a thorough software fix was the #1 priority. The Canadian military was hell-bent on getting the software right, which was the reason for the delay in production and service of the CH-148 choppers. But it looks like they forgot the most basic rule: to inform and update their pilots. Larry Waugh, a former pilot and defense expert, said, "I am deeply touched by the findings. It's certainly not the kind of death these servicemen deserved. The last few seconds of the crew members' lives must have been horrifying, knowing their aircraft was diving towards the ocean and the computer had locked them out." 6. ISS Disaster. In a significant setback in NASA's autopilot feature in the newly launched NOAA space module, the International Space Station came close to its biggest disaster. NASA was overlooking the same things that caused the Challenger and Columbia space shuttles to blow up. So here's what happened. The ISS is the largest single structure that humans have put into space. Since its induction, humans have lived in space, conducting research in the space station's advanced laboratories like never before. This massive space project cost about $150 billion, and it takes $4 billion more every year. But the NOAA module came very close to destroying this massive project. A minor software glitch compelled the NOAA module's autopilot system to fly away from the station rather than towards it. Although the module was already attached to the ISS, it started firing in the opposite direction using attitude thrusters. So as the thruster fired, the ISS was thrown out of its alignment. The notorious module continued to drag the ISS along with it. It wasn't until it had exhausted its fuel that it stopped thrusting the station in the wrong direction. Ground crews were unaware of this significant goof-up. As a result, NASA put a new plan in place to bring the ISS back to its original alignment. After a series of sleepless nights, the ISS finally got back to the orientation where it started. A programming error risked a multi-billion-dollar project, the lives of astronauts, and decades of research. 5. Big Bay boom busted. What people thought would be a fun night turned into a disaster in 2012. On the 4th of July, hundreds of people gathered around San Diego port to celebrate the holiday. Unfortunately, the customary fireworks show, Big Bay Boom, went Big Bay bust when all the fireworks went off well before the scheduled time. Sadly, spectators were left disappointed when several barges loaded with fireworks went off simultaneously. The massive explosion lit up the entire sky across downtown and was over and done within a few seconds. It was one bright night followed by darkness. The organizing committee blamed the mishap on a computer error that corrupted the coded program to set off the fireworks in sequence. After the disappointing show that left car alarms blaring and people whining, the sponsors did right by the spectators by arranging another show. It cost him $350,000 to rent the barges, buy the fireworks, and gain the license and permits. Sandy Purdon, the Big Bay Boom executive producer, said, "We'll try and help make it right, but we're not going to make it right. You can't replace the disappointment everybody has when they bring their family down on the 4th of July to the waterfront to see something." Thankfully, nobody was harmed. 4. Bank bug. 1.9 million customers were left without access to banking services when a disastrous IT upgrade messed up the TSB's system. The famous commercial bank boasted of a whopping profit of $197 billion in 2017, drowned in $420 billion worth of loss the following year. In a tragic set of events, the bank's customers were stung by an IT crisis within its digital banking platform throughout 2018. The problem resulted in around 80,000 customers switching their accounts to other banks because they didn't have essential online banking services for weeks. Trouble surfaced when private customer information had to be transferred from the IT system of the bank's former owner, Lloyd's, to the new one, led by Sandoval. TSB released a statement claiming 90% of the total 204,000 customers had raised complaints, which had to be resolved quickly but patiently. An executive issued a statement saying 2018 was the most challenging year, yet they expect to re-emerge as the most strongly capitalized bank soon. Despite all the madness, the bank saw 140,000 new customers pouring in the same year. They reported that there are still 3 inquiries into the tech snag that are still open for resolution. 3. Divide by zero. The USS Yorktown incident was caused by a failed computer system, human error, and organizational flaws. On September 21, 1997, the so-called smart ship of the U.S. Navy, the Yorktown, which had been in invaluable service since 1984, stood still for nearly 3 hours off the coast of Cape Charles, Virginia. And this was all thanks to a calculation error in the central control system. The Navy commissioned Yorktown on July 4, 1984, designed with the Aegis system that can track radar data. Loaded with half a dozen missiles on board, its dimensions are outrageous at 567 feet long and weighing 10,000 tons. Propelled by an 80,000 horsepower engine, the massive yet versatile battleship could travel at a maximum speed of 30 knots. On September 21, 1997, while performing training exercises, one of the crew members tried to troubleshoot a physically closed valve. The technician tried to recalibrate the fuel valve at 0, but something went wrong. The reset crashed the system by throwing a divide by zero expression throughout the main ship's program. The crash caused a domino-like sequence that rendered the ship dead in the middle of the sea. For 2 hours and 45 minutes, the crew tirelessly worked on troubleshooting and restarting the system. Unfortunately, it is still unclear if the ship made it back to base by itself or if they had it towed. 2. Havoc at Heathrow. Software issues have wreaked havoc in the banking and defense industry. Airports are no exception. On February 16, 2020, more than 100 flights were disrupted on a busy Sunday. A technical glitch messed up thousands of passengers' check-in and departure boards at London's Heathrow International Airport. While electronic tickets were useless, several passengers found it difficult to navigate around the airport to their respective gates. Passengers were left stranded not only in the terminals but also on their flights. As a result, several flights were canceled and many more were delayed. The authorities said that additional staff was added to help passengers to their gates. One passenger described the situation as utter chaos, while another shared pictures of handwritten flight numbers and details on whiteboards. A British Airways passenger tweeted, "Heathrow is in pandemonium. Announcement screens are not functioning. Luggage system is broken. How about using Twitter or other channels to tell people what's going on?" The airline replied, "We're aware Heathrow Airport is currently experiencing a technical issue that is impacting some of their IT systems across the airport, affecting a number of airlines. We are working with them to resolve the issue as a priority and apologize for the delay to our customers." Europe's busiest airports struggled to keep up and resolve the issue simultaneously. After 10 long hours of disruption, most services were back on schedule the following day. 1. Knight Capital Group trading mistake. What does it feel like to lose $10 billion a minute? Ask Knight Capital Group. The trading firm had to deal with the stock market's worst trading mistakes when it accidentally sold all of its stocks. The Knight Capital Group announced in August 2012 that the firm, which is based in Jersey City, had lost a whopping $440 billion because of a software glitch. The staggering loss threatened the company's stability as it had eaten into the firm's capital base. The company issued a statement that they had been severely impacted and are now actively pursuing strategic and financing alternatives. The loss surpasses the $289 billion of revenue of the company in the second quarter. The founder of another consulting firm, KOR Trading, Christopher Nagy, said, "With the events of yesterday, you have to question if this is just the beginning of the end for Knight." The problem arose after a new trading software was installed in the company's system. The bug caused the computers to buy and sell millions of shares rapidly for about 45 minutes when the markets opened. This led to a rise in the value of stocks, which had to be sold back into the market for a lower price. Until then, Knight played a crucial role in helping clients trade in and out of stocks at high speeds. As a result, the trading of about 11% of all American stocks took place under Knight's shelter. Would you rather let your mother see your entire browser history or go without your cell phone for a week? Let me know in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel for more outstanding videos. See you next time.